So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we're taking a look at... It's a war game. Kind of. It's Pax Pamir, 2nd edition. And this is designed by Cole Wherlegig, and it's from Wherlegig Games. This is just... I think it came out this year, I believe. It was early in the year, or it was late
Well,
last
this is
year.
the 2nd edition.
Yes.
So I doubt it's this year.
No,
My guess is it would be late last year.
I think it was. It was around then.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We're idiots.
Either way, this has been a very, very hot game this year. A lot of people have been playing it.
A hot game or a hard game?
Both. A lot of people have been playing this.
Did you say hard or hot?
I said hot.
I would agree with that. I would also agree that it's hard.
It is.
It's very hard to play it well.
Yes.
But...
So it's a very, very small and tight area control kind of board game. There's a little bit of tableau building as well. So why do I say it's a war game? Well, you're fighting over Afghanistan.
Well, it's the great game.
Yes.
Right? The concept of, Russia, Imperial Russia and Imperial Britain fighting for control of this area.
Yeah.
So it's a war game in the respect that it's not friendly. It's not like they're playing poker.
No.
They're trying to take over and control this area. So that's why it's kind of considered a war game.
Yeah, and it's you have armies and there's areas and you have to kind of build roads in between the areas to move your armies through and
then attack,
fight and kill each other's armies. And you're doing that as an area control game. You want to have your tribes with your coalition's pieces.
Well, if you don't control an area, you can't necessarily do that ability or play that card without paying the warlords
to the people that do.
So that's where that area control concept comes in. The area influence comes in, with the dominance checks, and I'm going to be honest, it has so many elements.
Yes.
And there's so much about it. I actually love this game.
And it's all packed into a very small box.
And the most beautiful production. We actually talked about, this is 2nd edition copy.
Yes.
But we talked about the beauty of this game and tried to compare it to some other games, and I don't know that we were able to really come up with anything that compared.
Not to this level, at least that we've played.
Right.
There might be a couple out there, but I wouldn't know what they are.
Well, and it's the materials that are used. It's like we talked about Rising Sun. That's another game. It's a Euro-style game with miniatures.
But it's got a cool-looking artwork on the board. I like the color palette.
The
lacquer are great.
The lacquer roll. What do you call those chits? Or I don't even know what they're called. Tiles.
Yeah, tiles. But this is like everything is so clean. It has a design that kind of pulls together.
Well, it's very thematic. Very thematic. This feels like an Afghani, motif that's used.
People joke and call it Pax rug.
Yeah.
Because it's this canvas rug.
Yeah.
And this isn't like a canvas map like you would get in some games. This is like it's material that is sewn.
Yeah, you could use this as a rug or a towel, to dry yourself off.
It's just a beautiful game to play with, as well as a game to play.
Well, and once again, it goes back. This game sells out.
Yes.
In the theme aspect, every movement is intended to convey the struggle. Right? There are assassinations. There are allegiances, there are trophies and bribes. It sells out in every aspect. And they sold out on the production as well.
Yes.
And made it, this is a market, and it is literally a beautiful drawing or painting of a market in Afghanistan.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
And you don't see it for the whole game
because it's covered up, but it doesn't matter. Inside the box is the same way.
Yeah. This
game really sells out on what it is trying to sell. And it is selling that conflict in the early 1800s, I think, right?
Yeah,
early to mid, and it's just everything works. Yeah. Everything.
The game itself, we've played it now 4 times?
4 times, and we've played all different player counts, and this is actually pretty rare for us.
Yes.
Most of our war games are 4 to 6 hour games.
Yeah. So
this is like a 2 hour game, right?
And I think it's Yeah, it's
2.5.
I think if you had max players and you didn't quite know, maybe it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah. But we've played, I think our first game was a 3-player game.
Yes.
The two of us and a young lady we met at Buckeye Game Fest.
Yes.
Our next game was a 4-player game.
Yes, we played with a couple.
A couple, and they had never played before. We had played, so we had that advantage. And then, I can't remember when the other one was. We played one more time there, and then we played tonight,
Yes.
the two of us, using Wakan, which is the solitaire bot.
Yeah, there's like an AI, which if you can use it solo, as a solo bot to play against, or you can do it as a proxy third player.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's not a co-op against the bot.
Yeah.
It's a 3-player game.
And I'm really glad we did that. I'm really glad we used that and experienced it. It plays very differently than you and I were able to play.
Yes.
But it gave it a lot of abilities because, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but because it's not doing free thinking. It's kind of going down a flow chart.
Yes.
Although it is taking actions that benefit it directly. For instance, dominance checks is one of those things that scores points and ultimately helps you win the game. It says in there, it will take a dominance check if and only if it gets the most points.
Yeah, if it's in a position to score and win it, it will do that.
Yeah.
You know. But
So
most of the
those
time
priorities,
it's doing its thing, and you got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
That's the reality of that.
we were behind it the
Yes.
entire game. And what it boiled down to is I think Wakan and I were tied at like, how many points was that?
12. No, 10.
10.
She didn't score any.
And then we kind of worked together to foil it, and I ended up winning by 2 points.
Yes.
And I had a good card play there at the end. Got very fortunate, had the right card, but very competitive. I would say that that's going to win its fair share of games, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, and I've spoken to people who have only played it with that.
And they get dominated.
Yes, it's a very competitive solitaire AI as well, which
Yeah.
is nice.
Reminds me of the Stalin bot in Churchill, kind of always dominates us.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever
hate
beat
that
the
thing.
bot, but
Yeah, but that's
it's embarrassing. Nice job, Mark.
Roosevelt bot. It kills me
I mean,
every time. It's just not even.
Especially in the late game. But
this
anyway.
one, you could play it solo, but it's nice. I like it when they give you a third player in a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Because these kind of games, you want ideally 4 players.
Yeah,
That
because
gives you the most interactions.
and the most ability to affect each other one way or the other, and to see some of those allegiance switches. Our
Yes.
first game I'll never forget, which I think I won the first game, but I won it because we just didn't really know what we were doing. But you changed allegiance at the very end.
Yes.
You went from being, I think you were British the entire game. I was Afghani. You switched because it was beneficial for you, and you almost won that.
Yes.
And that was fascinating
Yeah.
to me. We didn't see that in our other couple of plays. And tonight, I didn't change my allegiance. You did.
I did early, yes.
And it actually was going to benefit you pretty good. But anyway, I think the core of this game is that player interaction.
Yes.
In my opinion.
And that's, that's what I love in a game.
Yeah.
I like to have a game where I'm not doing my own thing, getting some points.
Ignoring everybody else.
I want to fight, I want to struggle, I want to negotiate, I want to bribe, I want to assassinate, I want to be reading your stuff, your stuff, and figuring out, oh my gosh, what am I trying to do? I like that.
Yeah.
And this one, each of us, you play as basically as a different tribe of the Afghan people, and it's, do I ally myself with,
British,
these outsiders, or these ones, or do I kind of bandy together for a kind of united Afghanistan?
Yeah.
So we're all kind of fighting against each other, and there are times where you all end up allied with the same kind of coalition.
Yeah.
And that's happened to us, and that's almost some of the most fascinating stuff.
Absolutely.
All of us kind of allied with the Russians, for example, but then it's who's got the most prestige, who's got the most gifts and
who's
prizes
got the most
and
patriots. Yeah.
Who's the most Russian.
Yeah.
And then some guy's like, sod it, I'm going to assassinate all the Russians, and I'm going to be allied with the British as a turncoat. And then suddenly, if there's a swing in the dominance, they're like going to get it. I mean, it's just so cool.
So that is one of those elements of this game that I think it just makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
That free-flowing allegiance concept, because I think historically this region that's kind of been the way it is, right?
Very much so.
They fight one country, and another country kind of comes in, the U.S., and helps them, and then they defeat their enemies, and then guess what? Then they switch allegiance, and it totally changes. So I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of this game is that free flowing. You never know, am I going to stick with the Afghans? Sometimes at the very end, it's very worthwhile your while to go ahead and switch.
Yeah.
It just all depends on what the consequences or the circumstances are.
Now, with all of this that we're discussing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the board, and that'll make a bit more sense as to what we're talking about and how that might change the game and the points, because it's a very, very tight game. So I'll show you all of this, and then we'll wrap up with some
So one other comment I want to make, though, because I also think the very best part of this game is the spies.
Yes.
The spies are so cool because they're the ones that are futzing with your tableau. And they're trying to kill your guys and assassinate them and even just cause
just block them
difficulty,
kind of
causing you to have to pay them to allow that action to happen. That is awesome.
Yeah, there's layers and layers and layers in this game.
And I think that's what there's an onboard area control, area influence, scoring points, but then there's an off-board tableau concept with your discs as spies and tribes. Just, oh my gosh, it's so deep.
It is. It's very deep.
So deep.
And I'll show you it all. That'll make a bit more sense so you can kind of see how some of this works a bit, and we'll get you some final thoughts here and go into a bit more depth about our favorite bits and pieces.
Yep.
So
there's a lot to like here.
I'm going to be honest. I'll show you that and we'll be right back. So here's a look at the map, and I don't know if you can see, this is a woven rug. It's not like the canvas maps from something like Blue Panther games where it's like a faux canvas printed on. Those are nice, but this is like, you could cross-stitch into this and totally change it. And it's got this beautiful printing on it. Like we said, it oozes with the theme just from the decorative artwork. And the board itself might seem fairly plain. It's just 6 areas with their names written on it and a little symbol. But most of the time it's covered up with a bunch of pieces anyway. The pieces, these blocks. And these blocks are also beautiful. So this is one of the Russian pieces. Let's get that in focus so we can see. That's my finger. Okay, so you got the Russian bear on it. And on the side, you've got these raised and embossed and dented stars on all of those sides. Beautiful on the bottom. Those are gorgeous. The Afghans have this gorgeous eagle on it. And this kind of plant-looking vine is what I'm going to call it. And then we have the British have this lion, obviously. What else would it be? And then this pattern on it. So these playing pieces represent 2 different things. And if you look on the map here, if they're stood up, they're armies. So this is 3 Afghan armies, and then there's a blue tribe. So the blue player has a tribe and has 3 Afghan armies in there. 2 British armies standing up. These ones that are laying down, you'll notice they go in between areas. These are roads. These are British roads. No one else has any roads. For an army to move from Herat to Kandahar, they have to have a matching road. Boop, they can move in there, great. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck where you are. Now, why that's important is this aspect of the game is an area control game. So right now the blue player controls Kandahar because they've got a couple blue pieces. If the black player wants to go in there and start messing with the blue player, what they're going to have to do is build a green road, maybe build another army, move the green armies in, and start fighting the blue ones and killing the tribes. You can also, these armies could kill the pig roads, things like that. And control is obviously done through pieces. Now, there's a lot of colors on this board, and that's where we get into kind of the first layer of this game. So there is a blue player down here, just off board. Let me move these. There is a red player over here, and then we have just off on this side, these are junk, we have a black player as well. There's 3 there's 2 other colors. I think this game can take up to 5 players. But the players are the colors, red, blue, and black. Well, the coalition pieces are green, pink, and the Russian yellows. So what happens is, you look at your little player dial. So the red player, this red part down here, they can either be allied with the Afghans, or the British, or the Russians. And you kind of secretly choose that at the beginning of the game. So let's say they're allied with the Afghans. So what happens is, in this space, the red player plus the green, red and green, they have control over Kabul because there's only one opposing piece. So if you look, Kabul has this little pentagon symbol on it. There's kind of a matching ruling marker that starts the game on the board. They would take that. So now, anyone who wants to play a card, and you'll see there's all these cards out in tableaus, anyone who wants to play a card that is about Kabul, so let's say I wanted to play this one. Boop, if I want to do this, well, for me to play this, I have to pay the red kind of tribal leader who's in control a bribe. A bribe can be either 2 coins, or 1 coin, or 0 coins, at the ruler's discretion. So if it's someone who might be doing something beneficial for you, you might not charge anything for them, especially if you're trying to like gang up on someone else. Or you might just be like, nope, it's going to cost you 2 money, and that might be too rich for that person's blood, and they might just be like, well, I'm not going to do it then. And so you can kind of hold people hostage based on how much you want to charge them or not. Again, another layer of interaction. But what's going to happen here is, for example, the red player, if he was to build a road and move in an army, the tribes don't move. The tribes stay where they are. Well, if he's going to attack the blue player, he's got to be careful. If the blue player is an Afghan, he can't attack him because he's part of the same coalition. Luckily, the blue player is part of the British coalition, so he's supporting all the pink blocks here. As such, blue can attack both pinks always, because the Afghans and the Russians didn't like each other all that much. Or he can use the green to just attack a blue enemy piece and remove that. It would go back to this little track down here, and there's some points to be scored based on how many cylinders you have out depending on a certain part of the game. So there's this dual layer of your tribe plus your kind of allegiance to a coalition. And the red player might, at some point in the game, might decide to change their allegiance. That's a terrible idea. They might become British as well. Then all of a sudden, these become kind of enemy blocks. And there's a lot of nuance with all of that. So that's kind of that aspect of it. Now, the tableaus that everyone has built, and this is very much endgame where there's a lot of cards out, these all have a different suit. There's purple, blue, yellow, and there's red up here in the market. This has the red in it. Those have a different favoring. So purple is imperial, blue is intelligence. This is, I want to say I'm going to call it economics, but it's kind of like taxing. And then red is military. Right now, purple, imperial, is the favored. It's the favored suit, so to speak. So on my turn, I have 2 actions. And your little tiny player board tells you that. It says you can take 2 actions. You can either buy something from the market, or you can play something. Those are the 2 things you can do. You can buy 2 things, or you can play 2 things if you happen to have them, or you can do a mixture of both. On top of that, because purple's favored, any purple cards I have out in my court, I can take 1 of the actions listed on each purple card. If you've got the money, that's usually very good. Or if some of your things might be about taxing, you might be able to raise funds on this card by taxing to then do an assassination on this card. and then you might tax one more time from this card, or you might build something if you've got lots of money. And then on top of that, this column of cards in the market has a 0 above it. You might pick up this card, which goes into your hand, but the money that was on it, that goes into your bank. So you now have an extra coin. And then your last action would be you can either play that card from your hand, or you could maybe just pick up this other card if you wanted to. Or you can spend money in the market. If you want to buy this card, you can pay 1, 2, and pick this up. Now, why you might not want to do that is that then the next player is going to be incentivized to pick this card up. Because not only is it going to be free for them to pick it up, they're going to gain a coin. You're paying your enemies at that point. And things get pretty hairy. The same thing where if someone's in control of Kandahar, and I want to play a Kandahar card, I've got to pay that person 2 gold to do it, and they're going to use that gold to then foil me elsewhere on the map. So again, another layer of kind of nuance in this game. At the end of my turn, all of these things move down, and then we just draw another couple of cards, and the deck has a set number of cards and a set number of these dominance checks. There's 4 of them in the game, and the dominance checks are the only time where you'll score points. Now, the dominance check comes down to a couple of different things. What you look at is basically what's left in here. And what you're looking for is one coalition dominating the game board. And if one coalition has more pieces out than both others by 4, so they've got 4 more... There's 4 more pink pieces than green pieces and yellow pieces, then the dominance check succeeds. What that would mean is, there's a whole bunch of pink. What that means is that then everyone who's allied with the British, say the red player is allied with the, oh no, they're Afghani. So if the blue player, is allied with the British, and so's the black player as well, what you then look at is their prestige. And prestige comes from these little symbols on here. This gift is a prestige, and these two kind of upside down lines are 2 prizes that I got during the game. These were courtiers in someone else's court, and my assassins killed them. You can notice this is a Russian patriot. When I kill him, the British are very happy. This is an Afghan patriot. When I assassinated him, the British were very happy. So I have, it's all of these plus 1. So I have 4 points. Now the black player has no prizes and no gifts. They didn't assassinate anyone, and they don't have any markers on these symbols here. But they do have in their court a British patriot. So they have, oh, they've got 2. I apologize. They had another one down here. So they have, it's whatever you have out plus 1. So they have 3 prestige points. I have 4. And what happens then is the person with the most prestige points scores 5 points, which would be me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the person with the second most scores 3. 1, 2, 3. And then if there was a last placed person, they would score 1 as well. But this person's in a different coalition, which wasn't dominant, so no score there. If these weren't on the board, then the pink doesn't have 4 more than both the green and the yellow. You don't go to prestige points. You simply look at who's got the most number of cylinders out on the board, and that's why there's little numbers on these tracks. Red player's got 4, I've got 6, this is the blue player, and then the black player has 3. And in this instance, the person with the most cylinders out gets 3 points. 1, 2, 3, 14, oh, 15, yep. The person with the second most gets 1 point. And that's it. There's no third place in this particular instance. So, depending on where you're at, you might have not very good prestige, but you might have a bunch of cylinders out. You might be working to make sure that the dominance check fails. Or if you've got a ton of prestige and no cylinders out, you're desperately trying to get as many blocks out as possible and to kill enemy blocks to get your dominance up so that when it scores, you get the most points. Again, another layer of interaction. But I think one of our favorite parts of this game are the spies. And some cards allow you to put spies out. Now, spies are these cylinders that are on cards. When you put a spy out, it comes from your track, and you put it on a card that you're basically instructed to. And what you can do is, if the red player takes a betray action, they can spend 2 coins to quite literally kill this card. Now, the problem is, if they do that, it will automatically provide them with this yellow prize. You have to take it. You can't turn that down. Now what happens is, if you do that, it changes your allegiance to Russian. So any prestige you might have had, any other prizes, any of those gifts, they get thrown away. Any of your patriots in your court leave. They hate you because you changed allegiance. So you got to be really careful about who you assassinate. You're looking for guys who are going to give you prizes to the allegiance that you want to have, or you want to build a lot of prestige with. But it's this whole extra layer of a game. You might have no stake in any of this. If you can't get any tribes out, if you can't get any control of anywhere, you might be moving your spies around to different cards. So for the black player, for them to use this card to either do a battle or to do a move, here, let me... If the black player wants to do either of these 2 actions at the bottom, fight and move, they have to pay me a bribe. They have to pay me 1, 2, or none. I can waive it if I want to. But they're going to have to pay me money to do that. So it's a way to hold cards hostage, is what that's called. And when you take a battle action, you can fight with your armies on the board, sure. I can use my armies to kill other blocks or kill other tribes. Or you can use it, just like on this card where there's a blue and a red spy, I can use it to kill his spy. Now I hold this hostage, he can't use this action unless he pays me. Or he can do it to kill my guy to free this back up, so he can now reuse this action. There's just so much goodness in this game. On top of that, there's this whole huge economy with the market. Buying from the cheap end typically to try and get these cards to move along, and it fills out. And what you're looking for, yeah, these actions are nice, but some of these cards, it gives you a build action. Build action's not great. But your tribes in Kabul cannot be attacked. So if you have this card, this is a really powerful ability if you control Kabul, because you'll all, if you pay attention and you've got guys and armies in there, you'll have a good shot of keeping control of that, which means everyone's going to be paying you money to pay those sweet, sweet Kabul cards. The problem is, this then becomes a huge target for those assassinations. Everyone's going to be throwing their spies around the board to try and get on there and to assassinate you, so you've got to protect the card and protect your area. But on top of that, when you first play this card, it has this little symbol. When you play it into your tableau, you get to place an army in Kabul. Now, the army is of the coalition that you're aligned with. Well, we can place an army into Kabul. Great. Now, the problem is, in the early game, that's all you would do. Just put an army in there. I don't control this, neither does anyone else. I'm just putting an army in there. And what I'm really looking for is the cards that allow me to place tribes down, because the tribes are where you actually get your pieces out onto the board to gain control.
They seem to be pretty rare all the time.
Yeah, I feel like they're quite rare. So this card in Kandahar, you put a tribe down and an army. This is very, very nice. And that's how we kind of got started. So I'm going to put a card down, tribe down here, and a British army right there. That's a nice start, and that goes into your tableau. Now the next person to play, because now I control it, because I have a piece, two ruling pieces, and they've only got one. I take control of them. So the Kandahar kind of ruling marker comes to me. Now everyone else who plays the Kandahar card has to pay me money. It's really good to be on top in this game. And as the control changes, you have to watch about who you're paying bribes to. And so you might have really cheap cards here, but you might never be able to play them. So then it's, do I pay more to get cards I can actually use? Or do I just have to wait and move my armies in and kill him so he's not the ruler, so that then I can get the good cards? Oh my gosh, the layers in this game are just superb. So, generally speaking, that's at least a gist of the game. Once you play it, it becomes somewhat more intuitive as you do it, although it's still a very, very thinky game. There's a lot of stuff to kind of get your teeth into. And what I'll do is I'll kind of just wrap this up and we'll give you some final thoughts. So that was a look at the board. I guess it's not a board.
Yeah. Well, it's the market
the
and
playing area.
Yeah.
But
the playing run.
It's the more we play it, the more I like it.
I agree with that, and actually, I'm going to be honest. After the first play, I could see that I liked it, but man, it was so tight on money.
Very tight.
It was almost so tight that I didn't enjoy it because I felt like I couldn't take the actions that I needed to. Now that we've learned things, you start to realize, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that.
You have to be conservative with your funds.
Right. But there's just not a lot of funds coming in. That's the...
No.
That's the concept. And I'm going to be honest with the bot. She threw some coins in the game that probably wouldn't have come in the game.
Yes.
Because she has some priorities that says, buy the highest political card that she can radicalize. And it's like, she spent 3 or 4 coins one time. And guess what? We just reaped the advantage of that by grabbing those coins. We taxed a couple times and...
But then watching her do that, I'm like, it taught me maybe some of the importance of like, you can't take the money home at the end of the game. Buy
You can't.
the Patriots, get the prestige. I'm like, maybe there is...
Well, and even, what's it called? It's called a loan. It's not called a loan. What's it called?
Oh.
Leveraging?
Yes.
So I had 2 leveraged cards, which gave me 4 coins.
She brought another 2 into the game as well.
But in the end, I ended up losing a couple cards because I didn't have enough coins to pay it when I lost those leveraged cards, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't need the cards. So that was another way that I think we've learned. It's that nuance, understanding how to get those coins. But there is a lot to like about this game. It is a different style game. It is different, I think, than I expected it to be, but I can absolutely understand why people love it.
So yeah, this game is more along the lines of like a kind of a Euro-y board gamey type thing.
Yeah.
Less of like a Hex Encounter war game.
Oh yeah, no, there's no
This
Hex
is
Encounter.
building cards, intrigue with the court and the
Yep.
spies, and it's area control, frankly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of right up our alley with the kind of games that we play in that genre as well.
Agreed.
This has a beautiful presentation, great theme. All the cards have really interesting history in them as well.
I read every one of those when I pulled them out. It's very fascinating.
And my favorite part about this game, I think, is its replay value.
Yeah.
As tiny as that board is, it's literally 6 spaces.
Yeah,
Normally
it is.
that doesn't leave a lot to be desired. But there's almost twice as many cards in the game than you will play with.
So you're always going to see new and different cards and combinations of cards.
Yes.
And that's cool, but we've also talked, that's something we almost have concern with. How many times have we, and we didn't examine the deck right now, but I think we examined the deck one time after we played at Buckeye Game Fest, and we saw like tons of being able to get tribes out.
Yes.
Whereas I think during the game we only had 3 or 4 of those cards. So that's my only concern with the way we build that deck. I feel like it's going to lend itself to eliminating certain things, but then everybody's just got to play with that. And you just got to understand that.
And I think as long as you understand that,
Yeah.
it's an enjoyable aspect of the game, knowing that your strategy is going to have to be adapted to the deck.
Yes, because it's going to change.
Because the other thing I remember is we played once, and like all the Afghan Patriots were in the box.
Yes.
I mean, there was so few out.
And we were Afghan at that time and needed those points.
Over it, and none of them were coming out. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
All these Brits and all these Russians, and it was like, oh. But
and knowing that,
you're like,
we should have changed our allegiance.
Yeah, you're like, who's going to gamble doing that quicker?
Yeah.
You know, it's a really, really interesting game, just how much it'll change just from setting up a new game.
Right.
And yeah, that's going to alter all of the different things that you do.
Well, and the other thing I really like about this game is the icons on the card. I can't remember what these are called.
Those are the favored suits.
Favored suits. You know, when this piece is on one of these, those suits cards in your tableau, you can take those actions for free. You can't do them 10 times. You can take them once
action
on one
card each. Yeah.
But that's also a very cool thing, trying to plan for that and anticipate that and looking in the market and understanding, okay, in 3 cards, that potentially could change, so I got to get some work done now. I love that programming, that thinking about what I'm trying to do, trying to be, you know, as strategic as you can be with the conditions that are there confronting you.
And everyone else is trying to hose you because you might have a good combo going, so they're doing everything they can to change that favorite suit so you can't do that.
And I also love these spies are fantastic. We used a ton this time. Going around assassinating cards, getting in the way, just such a beautiful mechanic.
Well, and I remember the first time we played it.
I don't know that we used them that much.
I used them a little bit, but it was just like, it kind of was like reading the rules, and I was like, okay, I guess. But watching it happen, where I'm like, oh, I can like move this guy all the way around the board, and I can get to that, and I can screw you on that.
Yep.
That stuff's really neat, because you might be super behind on the board.
Yeah.
But I had 7 discs out, and half of them were spies, and you can score points that way based on how a dominance check might go.
If a dominance check fails, it goes to whoever by default has the most discs out.
Yeah.
And that was interesting.
If you got a bunch of spies, you're like...
Yeah.
And I love it. I love that if there's no military dominance, it goes to this...
spy network.
The
clandestine network.
And that is such a cool theme. I think that's the coolest part. How that works.
It's very cool.
Versus the dominance. But if you've got military dominance, your spies serve a different function at that point.
Yeah.
They're there to block actions more than anything, because they don't score you any points anymore. It's just so cool.
So a game like this has so many different elements. There's almost mini games within the game. Just really fantastic. I actually really, really like this game.
Yes. I have a great time with this. I remember the first time we played it, it was quite slow, and I felt it was a little bit dry as well. Just because it was such a painfully dry economy. It was so tight, and it was really hard to do anything. The more we play it, I'm like, oh, this is so great. Making all the pieces move. So give it a chance. I don't think this is for everyone because of that theme.
No, because it is a little dry and a little slow. But it's really
an obscure history. A lot of people don't care about this.
But it really is an interesting dive into this thematic element in this point of history. I absolutely love this game.
Yeah,
had a great time.
It's really, really fun. It's expensive.
Well, and once again, this is the 2nd edition. I'm sure you can find a 1st edition copy somewhere.
Yeah, 1st editions are available on BGG and eBay. They're not all that much. I've heard people say they like that more. Like someone was like, "Oh, I prefer the alt map."
Really?
Yeah,
and we didn't play it, so
and it has it just looks different. It's functionally identical, but it looks different, which is interesting. But yeah, that's available if you can't splash out for this, which I think is generally sold out.
And you bought this. When did you buy this?
I bought this
just a couple months ago.
Just before Buckeye Game Fest. I'd only had it a couple weeks. Okay. But I think it was $70 on Kickstarter and pre-order, something like that. And if you can find it for that price, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
it can get up there.
And someone tell me for those that have the game, what are these made of? I can't figure it out. Almost looks ceramic-y because it's engraven.
Yes, and it's very crisp and clear,
and it's light. I don't know. I would love to know what material this is, and maybe I could just post that on BGG. But
I'm sure someone
so fascinating, just so interesting.
But have a blast playing this one. Oh, and the metal coins that I have are not the official ones.
Oh.
So, Wherlegig made and produced metal coins for the Kickstarter as an add-on extra, and they're doing more of them. They look slightly different and they're a gold color. These are actually from the Broken Token. So,
Oh, okay.
because the other ones were sold out, so I just bought these ones. And these are great, and I really love them.
But these were made for Pax Pamir.
They're called Asia Minor coins.
Okay, well,
so, yeah, they were made for this.
So, yeah, interesting.
They're like-
I did not know that. I did not know that that's
they're
what you had done.
They were like, you can use these for Pax Pamir, or you can use them for Five Tribes,
Sure,
and a bunch
yeah.
of other games that I'd never heard
Okay.
of because we don't play
Yeah.
that many. But like, these aren't the like official coins. These are my own ones. So just bear that in mind. If you buy them, they look different. Mine are the off-brand ones.
So yeah, I'm going to go out and say this: that we don't play a lot of these kind of games, but this was a really good game.
This is a keeper for life.
Yep.
I'm never.
I would
gonna
love
get
to get.
rid of
I would
this.
love to get a copy.
This is.
I would only play it with you, so I don't know why I need a copy.
Right.
But if you like player interaction, if you like some of that intrigue, if you like a game within a game, really heavy strategy, and really a tight economic game as well, you're going to love this. Tableau building,
and it's
so many good
and
things.
it's 2 hours.
Yep.
It's really 2 hours, especially once you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even with 4 players,
Yeah.
there's some AP, but
Yep.
you have so few actions. The board is so small that sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah, you only take 2 actions a round, right? You buy a card, you play a card, or you take an action that's written on a card. in
Yeah,
your
and
tableau.
you might
That's
have
it.
some bonus actions, but at most you usually only have 1 or 2 that
Yeah.
you can reasonably do.
Yeah, fun game.
But
really
yeah,
fun.
I had a blast playing this. We'll always have a blast playing this, and we will play this many times in the future as well.
I would love to set it up right again tonight and play it.
Yes,
definitely.
And robust AI as well.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was confused and perplexed by it, but very impressed with the way that it played and really led the game almost to the very end.
Yeah, and like all of these things, it's like, what is it doing? But then outcomes-wise, it beat me. That's not hard, but like, it did something.
Yeah,
So that's good.
It did something. Yep.
It's not
very
just
true.
like something you just...
I'm glad we played with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been Pax Pamir 2nd edition from Wherlegig Games, and we've been theplayers8.com.